Netflix rankings. We're going to rank all 6 shows now that The Defenders has finally come out. Be warned, if you have not seen any of these 6 shows, we are going to kind of talk a little bit about each of them. So if like I said, if there's one of them you've maybe missed, we might talk about a villain dying or being captured, or so just be spoiler warned from here on out. All right, so we're going to start off now from number 6. We're going to work our way up to number 1. Now, starting off at number 6 is Luke Cage for me. I really like this show. The first half of season 1 is fantastic. I really loved it. I was really invested into it. The second half kind of drags a little to me because what happens with Cottonmouth, where he kind of just abruptly dies from Mariah's hands, and then with Diamondback being, the bastard child of Luke Cage's father, and how he's just jealous of him, and then he's using Justin Hammer's tech. I didn't like that villain as much as I did Cottonmouth, and where I identified a lot more with him. So, from that second half, it just kind of wasn't the same for me. But I still did really enjoy the show. I love seeing Luke Cage, and seeing how he got his powers. It was a really cool origin story.
Yeah, I actually think I like Diamondback a lot better than Cottonmouth. I never liked Cottonmouth very much, but I still agree that the second half of the season wasn't nearly as good as the first half was. I liked the show a lot. I mean, I thought music played a big influence in it too. And
definitely.
It was definitely cool that way. I liked it, and then just being inside Harlem. But
yeah, good call.
The storyline in the second half kind of got a little weird, and with Diamondback, it was talking more about Luke Cage's past, with his dad and stuff, which I liked, but still, for whatever reason, I just thought that the second half of the season was much slower. So I think it's definitely 6 for me. I think Luke Cage and Iron Fist are a little even, but I definitely like the second half of Luke Cage a little bit, of Iron Fist a little bit better. That's why I have it ranked a little bit higher at number 5. But so yeah, I guess that brings us into Iron Fist at number 5. And I like this show. It definitely had some problems, got a little boring at some points, but overall, especially in the second half of the season, the action definitely ramped up, and seeing more of them going after the hand, that storyline, I think I liked a little bit better than Luke Cage's storyline.
Yeah, and I also have Iron Fist at number 5 too. I think the biggest issues, there were some boring storylines going on at the beginning, but it definitely picked up in the second half. I think Ward turned into one of my favorite characters.
I like his arc a lot.
Yeah, just seeing how his father really treats him. Frank and Stein, how Harold Meacham treats his son Ward, and I thought that whole family dynamic between the Wards, and then Danny coming back into the fold after, telling us 9 million times and seeing 9 million flashbacks of his parents being killed on an airplane, Castaway style. But, that was all interesting stuff in the second half. But the biggest issue I had watching the show was the action and the fight choreography.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, the Colleen Wing fight scenes, especially with her fighting Bakudo and fighting as the daughter of the dragon, in the undercage fight scenes, which somewhat reminded me a little bit of Wolverine, the first X-Men film. Where that's where we meet him at the beginning. But those fight scenes worked for me, again, and the action dictated a lot of the story, where it just really was infused the correct way, and you could really clearly cut long shots and clearly see what was going on. With Finn Jones, Danny Rand's character, and he's supposed to be the world's greatest martial artist, you just never got the sense the way you did when Daredevil was fighting. You really got the sense he was a badass. Watching this guy, you're like, there's a lot of quick cuts, and I don't feel like this guy's authentically fighting these guys. So just that was a big issue with me, but I still really overall liked it. I liked a lot of the storylines. I did love I really enjoyed the character of Danny Rand, especially the relationship between him and Colleen Wing. And just really, I was invested in those characters, and I like how it ended up ultimately paying off with him, and also with, like you said, the progression and the arc of Harold, or rather with Ward Meacham, was really satisfying for me personally.
Yeah, I think if they just would have gotten to it a little quicker in the first few episodes, it just took too long to get going. So if they just would have maybe even made it a couple of less episodes and made it a little quicker and shorter, I think I would have even ranked it a little higher.
But and also really, I agree with you, and also just little moments too, when Joy finally figures out that Danny is him with the M&Ms, how he picked out all this.
Yeah.
I love little touch moments
just,
that.
Get to it,
yeah, exactly.
An episode earlier,
exactly. I kept on thinking
too much time trying to convince everyone that he is who he says he is.
Yeah, little things like that hindered the show a little bit, but still, we really did enjoy that show for sure. Now getting into number 4, we get to hello Jessica. So I can't help it. I love David Tennant as the Purple Man.
He's one of the reasons why I love this show a lot. Because he was very good. He was great.
He is the reason why I love this show so much, and he's by far one of my favorite. I know some people don't consider this in the MCU because obviously the Avengers never come here, but in my mind it still technically is still connected. But he's definitely one of my favorite MCU villains for sure, David Tennant. Of course, we're talking about Jessica Jones. And I thought there were definitely some interesting storylines going on in there, where you see like how she was a victim of him and he basically raped her, and was controlling her for so long. And obviously, what happens with Luke Cage, we get to meet him for the first time. What happens with Jessica?
Yeah, and
with
I like
Reva.
their dynamic a lot too.
Oh,
and just,
absolutely.
Yeah. And it kind of like it set the dynamic a little bit for just showing you who Jessica was. Like she's just not giving a shit about anything and just having all the shit, and also going through what she went with the Purple Man. So yeah, and it has a very different different style. I feel like than some of the other ones too.
Yeah,
it's definitely a little different
That's
style.
what I liked about it, because it's not the same as Daredevil. It's more of like, an investigative type of show with some action in it, and like during certain things, like obviously Daredevil is more, crime drama in a courtroom scene, and then with some good action, kind of like CSI, if you will, with action. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I like the different tone and the shift in this, and I did really enjoy Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones.
Yeah,
like,
she's good.
Her dry humor, the way she does not give a shit about anything, and if you're in her way, like she'll just push you the hell out of the way. And also too, the fact that she has a drinking problem and how she has to deal with it, how it's such a big issue in the story, like it does, like it's an interesting dilemma for the character to be in, like how she has to deal with so many of her problems, and she does it through alcohol. So it is interesting to watch throughout the season how she goes through that. So
yeah, and David Tennant just puts on such a good performance too.
Jessica.
And a lot of brutality too in some of the episodes.
The scissor.
The only thing that I think I didn't like was actually the final confrontation with Jessica and Kilgrave, because I just thought that it resolved way too quickly and easily for her. Like there was not that big fight at the end that I was waiting for. Like everything else before that was so good with them, and then
it made sense.
It ended too quickly though.
It made sense what happened, because he like finally thought she was back on his side.
Yeah,
like,
she tricked him, which was cool.
Yeah, it was cool, but it happened abruptly.
But it never had like any sort of fight at all. So like.
No, I agree with you.
But next, so at number 3 we have The Defenders. I definitely really like this one a lot. I thought it had a much bigger scale than like some of the other seasons, but just the fact that the villain side, that scale was not higher, I feel like. So
yeah,
because I just didn't ever feel that true peril for the Defenders, but I did love seeing them all come together and have all these different interactions.
You basically just said everything I kind of wanted to say, but yeah, no, I mean, Daredevil, rather, The Defenders is my number 3 as well, and the biggest reason why this doesn't get higher is because obviously what happens with Alexandra, with her character, the way it just does not pay off her death in a way that, me personally, the way I wanted to see it, and it didn't feel like it was necessary in the story. I feel like there was other ways that they could have handled it. Also, too, you got a little bit of a plot issue, and not plot issue, but more of a plot device that I didn't like what they were going with in terms of the hand and their that threat level, like you said. It didn't feel enough to where, okay, we've got to get the whole team together, like for this grave level of threat. But I feel like almost like one of them, like systematically, the right way could have stopped them. But again, it's still, I love seeing the team together, and like these are more just little things that bothered us, but. Again, seeing the team together finally, because this is what we've been waiting for since they announced all these shows.
Of all these 5 seasons.
Yeah, it's kind of like the first time we got to see Avengers, where we get to see them all finally come together. So it definitely had that payoff where like you were feeling satisfied in that way. I just would have liked, again, like the villain done better in terms of, not from Sigourney Weaver's side, just story-wise, how they ended the character's story, and then also too that like you said, that grave level of threat where like, how are the Defenders supposed to beat Sigourney Weaver in this situation? Like, I know there's other shows coming, but in the moment, like, how are they really supposed to get through this and win? I just never felt that. Like I wanted
agree.
To.
But other than that, I mean, I thought it was a lot of fun.
I loved it.
And
humor,
just,
action.
It was very funny, and it was really great seeing all these characters together. I really enjoyed it.
And when we're complaining about these little things, we're just talking about things that in our minds would have made it perfect.
Yeah.
Because we love I love all 6 of these shows.
Yeah.
It's just we're just nitpicking for perfection because we're perfectionists and we're so good at everything. But seriously, it's just we're finding little things that we think would have personally made it better. But we want to make sure we make it clear we love all these shows.
Yeah, like we have them all ranked pretty high, but we have to find reasons to put them in a specific order. So that's pretty much.
I can't just say I love all 6 and that's it. Like I got to give you a reason why I liked one a little bit better than the other one, but I do love all 6 of these shows.
Yeah. So next at number 2, we got Daredevil season 1.
Yes,
it was a tough call for me on these because I really do love both of the seasons of Daredevil. They're obviously number 1 and number 2 for us, but season 1 was a great way, I thought, to introduce us to Daredevil and just his whole backstory and some of those amazing fight sequences, like in that hallway and Also, too, when he gets the suit for the first time, even though the suit isn't as cool as the one in season 2, I still love the moment when he gets it and he's fighting with Wilson Fisk. And obviously, too, Wilson Fisk is probably one of my favorite villains, like in any of the Marvel anything. So I thought he was great, and the whole season was a really good season.
Yeah, and like you, I had a difficult time. Which one do I want? Season 2 or Season 1? I love them both so much. It's like literally really close. But again, this is literally, it's like Iron Man 1. This is the start of everything in terms of for the Marvel Netflix shows. Like if this show did not work out, which a lot of people were very skeptical of this show coming in because, Marvel had finally gotten the rights back from 20th Century Fox, and this is what started the whole Marvel Netflix universe. So if this show did not kick it off the right way, it wasn't going to work out for this whole Netflix universe. So I love season 1, seeing that backstory and origin story of Matt Murdock, seeing how he became the devil, seeing Wilson Fisk's backstory and like his motivations, and seeing him plump a guy's head with a freaking Escalade
That's
door.
When you
knew
this is going to be brutal.
That exactly, like when you saw moments like that, you're like, this is very dark, very gritty, and much more violent than the films that in the same universe that they're in. So, and again, because you get so many more hours in these shows, they got to build up those backstories. Like again with Wilson Fisk, seeing what his dad did to his mother, how he traumatized him. Like you get more invested in these characters, and like you, Wilson Fisk is by far one of my favorite villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel Netflix universe. I love him. I love his speeches, the way he talks, like "Hello, Vanessa,"
and he just feels so intimidating.
Oh, he does.
So intimidating.
Oh, and the way he fights Daredevil, like you really. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Watch Wilson Fisk when he's fighting Daredevil. You feel the sense of danger and threat for Matt. Like, holy shit, he could absolutely kill him at any moment. Again, when you just comparing when you watch like Elektra fighting, the Defenders, you don't get that same level of danger that you feel when Wilson. And I get it; it's one-on-one. That's not a fair comparison, of course. I'm just talking about the level of threat that you feel when like Wilson Fisk is fighting. Like, holy crap! Like he could literally just snap back like a twig.
Yeah.
So I love that, and again, I was so invested in not only the Matt Murdock and Foggy and Karen and even Ben Urich in the show because they're all great.
Yeah.
I was so invested in Wilson Fisk. Like when I'm this invested in the villain, that's when you got a great show on your hands. And like I said, Wilson Fisk was amazing in the show, and Charlie Cox is terrific as Matt Murdock.
Yeah, and I just think they made the right choice of the way to introduce us to the Netflix series.
Absolutely, and also seeing the character battered and bruised and having to deal with the consequences. It really reminded me a lot of Casino Royale when you really see James Bond like bleeding a lot, like really having to deal with the consequences of being like hit all the time. Because a lot of times I feel like in movies and TV shows of these caliber, they get like bumps and bruises, and like they don't have to. It's like, oh, the next day they're perfectly fine when they just got their shoulder dislocated or something. Yeah. Like you have to see in a lot of scenes, and especially obviously it happens in season 2 too, but in season 1 Matt Murdock's got to deal with a lot of the repercussions of his injuries, and obviously Claire Temple plays a very big role in that, and then Foggy learning the truth about his best friend, keeping that secret. It's a really great season, and it just kicked off the Netflix universe in the right way.
I agree.
That leads us now to number 1, Daredevil season 2. Now the biggest reason why I'm so obsessed with this show, we get John Bernthal as the Punisher. Like the clash, the clash of ideologies in these two. How again they both fight on the side of good, but they go about it in completely different ways. John Bernthal is more in the Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck style of Batman, where he's going to murder and kill everyone that's in his path. And Daredevil is more in the Christian Bale's Batman, where he's not gonna kill, and he's gonna do it more the lawful way. So I love seeing that clash of ideologies. It was very interesting and done in a very compelling way, and also to seeing John Bernthal, the Punisher, seeing his backstory. Frank Castle, what he's got, how his family was, brutally murdered in a mob attack. Seeing the demons that go on through his head, what he's got to deal with, how people view him from the outside, think he's like this ultra terrorist, and he's the definition of an anti-hero. And I just think he plays it up so well, and he is such an authentic Punisher. And again, the best scene, from my favorite scene by far in the entire season is that scene in the cemetery, where he's just laying it all out for Matt Murdock about what he's about and like what happened with his family and his daughter and the story he's telling. Like it got like tears running down my I never thought the Punisher would make me like being all sensitive and tearful like that. But again, it's just done in such an impactful, and the interactions are so amazing. And I forgot to mention Elektra. She's incredible too, and I love season 2, and just again like dealing with Matt's drama with her. It was such a great season. I love it.
Yeah, I think the Punisher definitely played a big role in putting it number 1 overall for me because, yeah, he definitely was a great character, and especially seeing him clash with Matt because they're so different. And even in those courtroom scenes, a lot of great courtroom scenes when he's on trial. And I love also seeing the kind of the fight going on between Foggy and Matt a little bit,
yes.
the dissonance in their relationship, because we're so invested in their relationship from season 1 that we really care about these guys. So seeing them fight is like kind of heartbreaking a little bit, and you see it's not ruining their friendship, but it's ruining their partner, it is hurting their friendship, but they're obviously so friendly and defenders and stuff.
And I think
not as close as they were.
And I think it makes Foggy like a human being. He's concerned.
Totally.
It's his best friend. He doesn't want him fighting in vigilante gear, risking his life every day. And like if you were doing something, I mean, I wouldn't care if you did that, but I mean, like seriously, if you were doing something like that, I would, and I found out about it, I would have general concern for you too, and not to get on you. Like I don't want you to die. So I really felt the emotional impact of their relationship there. I loved also the relationship that progressed between Karen and Matt. Because again, you see that clash in terms of she doesn't want him. She wants to have a relationship with this guy. She doesn't want him. She doesn't want to have a relationship. She doesn't want a relationship with someone that could literally die any night at any given second because he's out defending the city all the time. So, like from that point of view, you got it. And I gotta say though, my favorite moment in the season by far is Wilson Fisk and the Punisher in the jail cell when he's just beating the absolute crap, and he's like, "Now I'm gonna let you go out there and enable your violence on society," or like whatever he said. Like I'm butchering the lines, but those interactions, those moments, and how Kingpin just takes over the prison cell when that one the guy who's really he thinks he's the Kingpin of the prison says, "There's only room in here for one Kingpin." The moment he said, "I'm like, you're dead."
Yeah.
You're dead. Wilson's going to get you. But it shows how intellectual Wilson is. He's, like, even when you think all odds are against him, how's he supposed to be the kingpin of this prison when he's, like, the lowest of the totem pole and now this guy's in charge? Oh, the way he does it is done so satisfying and compelling. That's why he's my favorite villain. Not because they give him the chance to shine, because he's so smart.
He does it.
He's so resourceful. He does it in a way where you're not siding with him, but he does it in such a convincing and satisfying way that you're like, I love this character so much.
I actually love the scene too between Wilson Fisk and Matt in the jail. Like where Matt's just totally telling him off.
He's gonna take it,
and then Wilson Fisk just totally turns the tables on him and just owns him. I mean, it's like it's not as physical, but like mentally, he just destroys him. So I love that scene.
I'd say it was pretty physical too. Like he just slams his head.
Yeah, he does, but not as physical as as the Punisher fight in the jail, which was one of the sickest scenes too. Definitely. Just that whole fight where he's fighting through all those inmates.
Yeah.
One of the craziest scenes.
With just knifing them all. The long shot of all that brutality at its finest. No, definitely.
I think it might have topped the hallway scene in Daredevil season 1 because those were the two. I
agree with you, and also too when he's just killing everyone so seamlessly like that and so violent. It kind of reminded me, a little spoiler warning, of Kingsman: Secret Service, where in the church where he's just annihilating everyone. Just had that little, not the comedic vibe of that, but that dark, sinister, violent vibe. I love that moment, and I really thought this is the most authentic interpretation, the best interpretation of the Punisher. Obviously, we get more hours with this character, but still, if we're going to compare it to Thomas Jane and
whatever that guy's name is.
Ray Stevenson, and also he plays Volstagg in Thor the Dark World, and of course Thor Ragnarok. But when we see, in comparison to those, and I did like those two as the Punisher a lot, by the way. Not those movies as much. I did like Warzone a little bit, but the character of the Punisher, I just thought John Bernthal gave the most authentic, the most heartfelt, the most suspenseful, the most dramatic, and also the most, just grief-stricken Punisher we've ever gotten.
He was the best written version of it, too, also.
Definitely.
So
that helps.
That definitely helps.
That definitely
helps a lot. But also, I thought Matt Murdock was great, too. I mean, everything about Daredevil is I love. So, I mean, I thought he was really good in this season.
And the courtroom drama scenes where Matt's trying to get him off, and again, they have such a difference in ideology, and they clash so much with their interactions. No, it was definitely very good. I loved it. And again, I had a hard time dealing with season 2 or season 1, which one I want to go with.
I like them both.
I love them both so much. So, just for nitpicking purposes, we picked one over the other. But they're all great. We love all these shows. But let us know in the comments what you guys thought. We want to know what your rankings are for the 6 shows so far.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to do it for this video. Let us know what you guys thought about it in the comment section. And if you like these videos, you can hit the subscribe button.
See you guys next time.